Thank you so much, sir, once again for doing this talk with us and giving us your valuable time. I'm not going to take away more of your time, so please do, you can start with your talk.
Should I share a presentation or should I just talk?
I mean, of course, it's your choice, sir. We're okay with both.
Okay. So let me just share my screen. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm sure it's not a new domain for most of the people here, because you said that there are plenty of people who are participating are already into the water domain. So it's not a new business domain. People understand that there's a huge business into the water domain. But this is how the presentation flow has been designed. So let me go through the same. As we were just discussing about sustainability and recession-free business. So water, soil, air, environment, anything, any business into this or restoration of the natural quality of water, soil, and air is a business which is recession-free, because this will never be out of demand, because everybody needs it anyway, not just restricted to human beings, but all the plants, all the animals, insects, birds, anything which is living need to have water, soil, and air as the basic key ingredient of life. Now, just to have a look at the kind of business potential that we have just in India, most of the people might not be knowing about this. Like there are just a few examples. 1,10,000 crores have been given by Finance Ministry to National Mission for Clean Ganga. So it is just one PSU, central PSU, and this is the kind of budget that they have. There's another project going on, which is Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, which is Amrut 2.0. The Amrit 1 started in 2017, and it was on till about 2021. And 1st of October 2021, Amrut 2 was launched. So Amrut 1 was basically to focus on some key parameters for all the cities. This is separate from Smart City mission. This Amrut mission is another mission into making of 500 cities as developed cities in the country. So here the Amrut 1 had a focus on water, electricity, and transport in the cities. Amrut 2 is primarily focused on waste management. So when it comes to waste management, it is both the parts, the solid waste management as well as the liquid waste management. Now, when it comes to liquid waste management, the focus is on restoration and rejuvenation of all the natural water bodies, be it a drain or be it a lake or a pond or a river which is passing through any particular city. So that is Amrut 2.0. 2,99,000 crores have been allocated for this particular project. And this is all about water bodies. Then 12,000 crores have been allocated for Jal Jeevan mission, only for 1 year. 15,000 crores for Hriday, which is heritage cities restoration. Like we have Kashi Vishwanath restoration, the Kashi Vishwanath corridor, Mathura Vrindavan corridor, Ayodhya Vedic city redevelopment, Ujjain Mahakal corridor. So there are about 7 cities across the country which are a part of heritage cities. They are called Saptapuris. So 15,000 crores is the budget for this year, which of course, because every of the Sapt Puris were around a water body, and there were plenty of water bodies around the Saptapuris also. Like if you talk about only Kashi Vishwanath, we have 264 water bodies there, and we have three rivers. One is the mightiest of them all, Ganga River is there. Then we have Varuna, then we have Assi. So Varuna and Assi put together is called Varanasi. So that is how this name came into existence. The same goes true with Mathura Vrindavan. There are about 1,344 water bodies around Mathura Vrindavan. And river Yamuna is definitely crossing through both the cities. Then we have Ayodhya, we have Saryu River, and we have 108 water bodies across the city of Ayodhya. Then we have Ujjain Mahakal, we have Shipra River crossing through the city, and we have Sapta Sagars. Each of them is about 30-40 acres water body. Then we have Abadha, which is augmentation of basic amenities for the heritage cities of Puri and Konark. So that is another project which is specific to Odisha. Then we have Campa funds, which is compensatory afforestation funds, which are given to the state ministries of forest and environment for compensatory afforestation or reforestation, for which 54,000 crores as tranche 1 has been disbursed by the central government. So this is the kind of business that we have into the water domain, because no forestation is possible without the water bodies. Every forest has got huge amount of water bodies. Just to give you an example, within the state of Uttar Pradesh itself, there are 22,000 water bodies into the forest areas which need the restoration. So that's the kind of business that we are talking about into the water domain, only within our own country. Then the water scarcity is a huge problem across the globe. And we know there are plenty of circles which are talking about going forward, there could be wars for water. So water sustainability, water sovereignty, all these terms, all these aspects will come into the picture going forward. So what we have done is what I'll be explaining now. What is our approach and how we do it and where all we have done it. So like the picture that you see in the slide itself is Lehartara Lake in Varanasi, which has the project we started in November 2021, and today is 19th. We have just completed 1 full year, because the project launch was on 19th of November 21. Now today is 19th of November 22. So there is an anniversary for Lehartara project today. And likewise, we have done other similar projects like the first picture on your extreme left is for Ahmedabad. It is called Idudi Lake in an area called Chandlodia. This is about a 1 acre lake wherein you can see this inlet is for sewage. So raw sewage used to come into this and used to get collected. But because this was creating a lot of mess in the vicinity in terms of the foul smell, mosquitoes, algal bloom, waterborne diseases. So they stopped this sewage input line 5 years back. And now they wanted to have a kind of restoration of the water body when we got this project in 2019 as a proof of concept, which was done, of course, free of cost. And there's a chat message. Mr. Chandrasekharan from Watson is talking about RWH, rainwater harvesting. Yeah, I'll be covering those aspects, sir. Let me just go through the flow of the presentation. See, when we talk about rainwater harvesting or flood mitigation or drought mitigation or air pollution mitigation or water rejuvenation, all these are related, interrelated aspects. See, we are looking at water body just as a pool of water, but that is a wrong perception towards water bodies. Every water body has got a huge number of ecosystem services to provide, and all these things which I've just counted are all a part of the ecosystem services from the water bodies. So that will eventually be covered during the flow of the presentation. So this one was Ahmedabad. You can see the dates. This is 15th of December. You can see the water is absolute green, and you have patches of fungal growth. There is an algal bloom. That is why the color is green. And you can see that the complete water is static. There are no waves into the water body. Whereas 30th of December, just 15 days later, you can see it has completely been transformed. Now, this is from Hyderabad. This is called Kudikunta Lake. And you can see the amount of smudge which was there on the top surface. From 1st of October till 1st of February, this is the difference which has been created. And this is Raipur, Chhattisgarh, 16th of October and 16th of November. You can see 70% of the surface was covered with water lilies. Water lilies are, some people might have a perception that water lilies are grown. They're not grown, they are weeds. They come naturally. They come because when the water is having too much of phosphates and nitrates and sulfates, it is the feed for the weed. So depending upon the agroclimatic zone, a particular kind of weed will grow naturally. So here into this Moa Lake in Raipur, the difference that you see is without any wet excavation. There is no de-weeding which has been done. The lilies got deprived of their feed because there was an alternative method for the phosphate and the sulfate and nitrate which was coming in, that got decomposed on its own naturally. So that is why there was no feed for the lilies and they sunk into water itself. Now this is Delhi NCR. This is Prasad Nagar Lake in Karol Bagh. You can see the amount of algal bloom which was there. This is the difference of 62 days. From this condition to this condition, here you can see that there's a lot of wave and the algal bloom is completely gone. It has completely disappeared, right? Same is the story with this Jhilwala Park Lake in Rohini. You can see the fat oil and grease amount which is floating on the top and the algal bloom which is there. All got dissolved. This is a difference of 30 days. And this is again Uttar Pradesh. This is Ayodhya. There is a lot of water hyacinth growth in pre-treatment condition, and within a matter of just about 3 months or so, this was completely gone because there was an alternative arrangement created naturally into the water body so that the feed for the weed gets decomposed on its own and it becomes a raw material for the aquatic food chain. You know, into like we have all studied the food chain of the jungle. Similarly, there's a food chain in the water as well. There are single-celled organisms which are creating the ecosystem, and there are planktons which will consume the produce of the single-celled organism. Planktons will be consumed by the fishes. Fishes will be consumed by the bigger fishes, and excreta of all the animals in the water is pure ammonia, and ammonia is again neutralized by the single-celled organism. So there is a food chain that exists. And when we add these phosphates and nitrates and sulfates, so these are synthesized by the single-celled organism for creation of the feed for the planktons. So this is how the food chain goes into the water body. And once this food chain is restored, the water body gets restored naturally. Right. Now this is somewhat similar. There the weed was hyacinth. Here the weed, interestingly, we had about 16 different varieties of weed here. We had azolla, we had hydrilla, we had taro, we had elephant ear. We had such a huge variety here. But you can see the difference. This is, of course, this is not completely gone. But because there is also one more reason for this not to be getting completely gone, because azolla or the duckweed is the fastest breeding weed. And that is why even if it dies, it comes back very fast. So those were the case studies. Now coming on to the water contamination and depleting resources across the globe. This is not a problem which is specific to a particular state or a particular country or a particular village. This contamination of water, contamination of the water bodies, water pollution is a global problem. And because we are polluting all the natural resources which are there on the surface, ultimately, we all know that almost 72% of the planet is all water. But the majority of the water is there into the sea, which is marine water. This is all saline water, which is of no use for the terrestrial organisms. So what we need is sweet water. And sweet water is there only into the landlocked water bodies on the surface, on the terrestrial surface. So what we are doing is producing sewage day in, day out. There's not even a single industry which can run without water. And every industry is actually literally polluting water. Every household is actually polluting water. Because the way our lifestyles has been changed in last about 100 years, every human being on an everyday basis generates at least about 33 to 75 liters of sewage every day. Now just multiply it with the human population and you will get what is the amount of wastewater we are generating on a daily basis. And where does this wastewater go? This will go into the natural water bodies. So whether it is going to a pond or a river or a rivulet or a drain or a lake, anywhere it might go, but ultimately it will go into a natural water body only. So natural water body will get contaminated. And once it is contaminated, that water is of no use, right? So this is a global issue. This is a global problem. And we need to resolve it in order to make the living sustainable, make the human race sustainable here on this planet. So let's look at the problems for the urban areas. Air pollution is continuously rising. Industrial water pollution is there. As long as the industries are there, there'll be a water pollution. And any and every industry will pollute water only. Even if you have a corporate office, you are not doing any production, you will still have cooling towers. And cooling towers will use water as a coolant. And once the water is heated, it is good for algal bloom. So it can no more run through the pipes, because if the algal bloom happens within the pipeline, then eventually it will be choked. So that is why the water is circulated into the cooling tower, and once it gets heated, it is discarded. So the discarded water will have algal bloom. So naturally, what we are doing is, in this discarded water, we are creating water pollution. We are wasting soil, we are wasting land, we are depleting the aquifers, because today 75% of India's water need is fulfilled by the aquifers, by the underground water. So we are just extracting that water day in, day out, and the refill options are almost depleting. Why? Because all the water bodies have got sludge deposit in the bottom. So the natural rainwater harvesting is not happening. And the urban areas are largely concretized. So water doesn't just seep in, right? So the amount of recharge which we are supposed to do, which should be commensurate with the kind of extraction that we are doing, is actually not happening. And as a ripple effect, what we see is the number of earthquakes which has increased, because water in the aquifer is also working as a pneumatic shock absorber. So we never actually come to know about the movement of the tectonic plates or the activities which are happening in the subsurface, because there was a huge amount of aquifer which was working as a pneumatic shock absorber, right? So that is why if you look at last 20 years, the incidence of earthquake has gone up by many folds. And then, of course, we have sewage as a problem, because, as I said, every human being is generating sewage, and this sewage will ultimately land into the water body. Now, in the name of restoration or saving a water body, what we are doing, we are stopping or diverting a drain. So if we have to restore one water body, we divert the drain and put it into another water body. So how on earth is it going to help? If at all we have to work upon the sustainability quotient, we should try changing the lifestyle and reducing the sewage production. But diverting from one water body to another is not going to help, because ultimately all water bodies are linked with each other. So either we should work on the digestion capacity of the water or the water body, or we should reduce the sewage production itself. Now, when I say digestion capacity of a water body, plenty of people might not be able to relate to it. So let me just explain. During the global lockdown, almost every newspaper and TV channel explained that the rivers have started becoming cleaner. The water bodies have started becoming cleaner. Nature is reclaiming. People in Punjab were able to actually see the Kanchenjunga mountains with naked eyes, because air was becoming cleaner. So the visibility through the air had increased. So there is a natural self-healing mechanism of the water bodies, and that is what is required to be restored. As a land subsidence, Mr. Ganesh Shankar is definitely an important aspect, but that is not just linked to aquifer, that is also linked to mining. So mining is a separate chapter altogether, because mining, when we are doing, we are actually creating a kind of a crater into the earth's crust. And the ripple effect of that is the heavy metals and minerals which are supposed to be buried deep into the earth's crust, that get exposed to soil and water and air. And the abandoned open cast mines are actually having water which is toxin. Just about a few years back, there was an incident in Gujarat, wherein after monsoon, when they reopened the mine, they just pumped out of the water into the sea, into the river nearby. And a group of cows, when they drank that water, they died due to multiple organ failures instantly. So there was a case done by the villagers, and the CEO of Gujarat Mining Corporation was behind the bus. So there are many ripple effects of the unsustainable lifestyle that we have, whether it is industry, whether it is the urban living, the urbanization or the industrialization, everything, there is a ripple effect. And as far as mining is concerned, there are certain industries like textile industry, like paper and pulp industry, and the mining industry, which are considered to be the most polluting industries on the planet. So what we have is into our solution, which we call as the Cownomics Technology, we have a unique approach wherein we are working on this technology, wherein we are not cleaning the water per se, because most of the people working in water domain are actually cleaning water. We are not. What we are doing is we are restoring the native ecology of the water bodies in the wetland, and water cleaning is a ripple effect of that. You know, it's like if you have an accidental case that comes to the hospital, the first and foremost, you need to buy out time. So you put the patient onto the heart-lung machine, a ventilator, which is obviously not a solution. But what you want to restore is the complete ecosystem of the human body, because human body is a closed ecosystem. So once all the organ system, once all the natural native ecology is there in place, then you can shift the patient from a ventilator to an ICU. And once the patient is already conscious, then you can explore other problems with the body, like you might have blood pressure or a sugar or any kind of other ailment. So you start working on those ailments. And then finally, when you discharge a patient from the hospital, he is not needing any of the medical supports, right? So once he's walking out of the hospital, he's absolutely healthy, hale and hearty, and usually without any medical support. But there are patients who carry home a lot of prescription with them. That's not the idea that we are working on. What we are working on is, once we restore the native ecology of the water body, then the digestion capacity is calibrated vis-a-vis the fresh inload of the pollution, and the water body gets on its own. Water body can take care of the fresh incoming load of the contamination, and will be consumed into the ecosystem. So that is how we work on it. So it's a unique solution. It is holistic and it impacts all the three layers: soil, water, and air. Because once you bring a water body to its healthy condition of the native ecology, then there is a ripple effect in soil, there is a ripple effect in air. Like every water body is a natural rainwater harvesting apparatus. So it will start recharging the aquifer. There will be a soil capillary link between the surface water body and the aquifer. And the capillary action works on the basis of pressure. So wherever there is a higher pressure, water will move to the lower pressure system. So during the monsoon, when there is a lot of downpour, the surface water body will have a higher pressure and the water will move from the surface to the aquifer. A reverse of it will happen during peak of summers. When the evaporation rate is high, the surface tension on the surface water body will be reduced and the water will be pulled up from the aquifer to keep the water body perennial, right? So it will neither ever dry nor it will ever overflow. So this is just one aspect of it, the relationship between the soil and water. Another important aspect is, when the soil capillaries are filled with water, there will be no drought condition, because water will, the soil will have enough amount of moisture within the soil capillaries, and that is how the complete drying of the soil, which causes the drought, will be avoided. Then of course, if you look at the tourism aspect of it, every tourist destination has a water body, whether it is a sea, whether it is a river, whether it is a pond or a lake. Like if you talk about the coastal cities, they are a tourist attraction because of their beaches. If you talk about the riverine cities like Varanasi or Mathura, they have a river next to it. If we talk about let's say Nainital, it is because of the lake. Srinagar in Kashmir uh, attracts a lot of tourists around Dal Lake or around Wular Lake. So water body is essentially a part of the tourist attraction, right? Water is definitely required in agriculture, animal husbandry, rural economy. And without water, even a semiconductor industry wouldn't work. So every industry needs a lot of water. And water sustainability is really, really important for human economy from all aspects. As far as our technology is concerned, we have been certified by the Apex agency in water domain in India, that is Ganga. We are recognized by Jal Shakti Mantralaya. We're also recently been recognized by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs for Mission Amrut 2.0. We are incidentally the only in situ rejuvenation technology identified among the 75 technologies by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs on 9th of September 2022. And there are a lot of case studies. I've already shown a couple of case studies. We have worked across MP, UP, Gujarat, Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, Telangana, Assam, Odisha, West Bengal, everywhere. Either the project has already been delivered or there are ongoing projects. So everywhere you already have the authentication and the provenness of our technology. So the key differentiation between us or any other technology in the world is that we are the only one into in situ rejuvenation, which does not segregate and collect the contamination of the pollution. The contamination or the pollution gets consumed and digested within the aqua ecology without any wet excavation. So this is a key differentiator, and our focus is not in cleaning of water, but restoring the native ecology, because of which there is a ripple effect on restoration of the ecosystem services from the water bodies, which includes managing the temperature of the vicinity, which includes mitigation of the urban heat island or the photovoltaic heat island, the aquifer recharge, the rainwater harvesting, air pollution mitigation, which most of the people are unable to relate to, because how can restoring a water body contribute towards air pollution mitigation? And this is a really important aspect to understand. The water molecule is designed by nature in such a way that it is a bipolar molecule. The top is negatively charged and the bottom is positively charged. On top of the molecule, we have two negatively charged electrons, and the bottom we have two positively charged hydrogen atoms. Now, this gives it a bipolar shape. Now, when all the water molecules come together into a water body, the complete top surface becomes negatively charged. Now, what we call as air pollution is basically particulate matter. Particulate matters are freely floating solid particles in air. Why they're freely floating is only because they've got a positive charge. So when the particulate matter is positively charged and the top surface of the water body is negatively charged, they will naturally get attracted towards the water surface. So whatever we call as air pollution is particulate matter, and entire particulate matter gets settled onto the top surface of the water body, where it gets wet because of water, and then it sinks down into the bottom. So air pollution mitigation happens naturally. It's a natural function of any water body in a healthy state. Yes, when the water is polluted, then the water body doesn't serve the purpose, because the water viscosity is high, waves are not there, water is almost still, and it is no more negatively charged because we have a lot of solid particles fixed between the water molecules. The space which was supposed to be occupied by a molecule of oxygen, O2, which we call as dissolved oxygen, is actually in a polluted water body gets occupied by a phosphate or a sulfate or a nitrate. All the solids, it can be suspended solid, it can be dissolved solid, it can be settled solid, it can be volatile solid. There's so many types of solids which are there in a contaminated water, and they are the cause of contamination, right? So once they are there into the water, the top surface doesn't remain negatively charged anymore. So that is why the particulate matter does not get a surface to settle down. And that is why it is there in the air all the time. This is what we call as air pollution. Second aspect of it is carbon sequestration. Every water body in its natural state absorb a lot of greenhouse gases from the air for the sake of photosynthesis. For photosynthesis, you need two things. One is carbon, one is photons. The photons are unable to penetrate into the water. That is why the the photosynthesis process is compromised. Secondly, a polluted water body is an emitter. It is not a sink. Water bodies are the only structure in this planet which can go both ways. They can be a sink or they can be an emitter for carbon, right? So when the water body is polluted, it is an emitter because the decomposition is happening within the water body, which is producing methane and carbon dioxide. And water does have a holding capacity beyond which, if the production is there, it is emitted in the air. Okay? So that is how we need, if we keep our water bodies clean, they are also doing carbon sequestration. They are also contributing towards reversing global warming and climate change. And they're also doing air pollution mitigation. Of course, in a healthy condition, water bodies are carbon sinks. They absorb greenhouse gases from atmosphere naturally for the sake of photosynthesis. And this remains trapped because this carbon is actually used as a raw material into the aquatic food chain, and it gets consumed completely. So it is never ever emitted back, right? And this entire thing is happening 100% in situ conditions without diverting or stopping any of the incoming drains or the effluent discharge or anything which is coming in. As long as it is liquid, it will get consumed in the aqua ecology itself. So these are some of the awards and recognitions that we have. We are registered with Startup India. We've been awarded by Jal Shakti Mantralaya as Water Hero. We are in fact one of the first recipients of the Water Hero Award because August 2019, the Jal Shakti Mantralaya was formed. September, they launched the Water Hero Award scheme. And October, we got the Water Hero Award. Then Smart Water magazine has rated us among the top 5 authors across the globe on water. This certificate that you see is the commendation certificate from Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs for Amrut 2.0. I've been a TED speaker and TED has also rated our idea as an idea worth spreading. And I've got an opportunity to be the keynote speaker for a UN water program organized on the World Water Day in Rajasthan. So those were the awards and recognition. There are plenty of them which cannot be explained in one single slide. These are some appreciations that we have. Asian Development Research Institute, which is there in Patna. Then this is Archaeological Survey, Uttar Pradesh. And this one is Assam. This was on Decarbonization Summit. This happened in the month of September this year. This is IIT-BHU. This is Ganga, the School of Planning and Architecture. This is NEERI, and this is Central Pollution Control Board. This was my presentation with the Jal Shakti Mantralaya. Here you can see the Honorable Minister, Mr. Gajendra Singh Shekhawat is there. He was then Minister of State, Mr. Ratanlal Kataria. He is Mr. D.P. Mathuria from National Mission for Clean Ganga. And this happened in the Honorable Minister's chamber itself. And of course, I cannot take the pictures there because I am presenting. So all these pictures were tweeted by the office of Jal Shakti Minister. And this is what the stalwarts have to say about us. Dr. Nivedita Haran was the head of committee of expert for Dal Lake rejuvenation. Dr. Uma Shankar Singh is principal chief conservator of forest for Uttar Pradesh. Dr. Chandan Ghosh is teaching disaster management in NIDM. He was also a professor in IIT-BHU. Dr. Ashok Ghosh is the chairman for Bihar State Pollution Control Board. Dr. Bipin Thapliyal has been the executive director for Central Paper and Pulp Research Institute. That is the apex institute in paper and pulp research in the country. And Dr. Kusumlata has been a professor in Indian Institute of Public Administration, Delhi, where the senior IAS come in for specialized training. And we were honored to be invited there for teaching the senior IAS and the administrator from Army, Navy, and Air Force on environment and ecology. So that has been our journey so far. Now, I think I can end the presentation. Heads up, 10 more minutes. Yeah, I think I'm done already.
Yes.
Cownomics is based on cow produce, panchkavya, and its source material. No, it is not based on cow produce. It is 100% botanical extract. Cownomics is the name given by us because our journey started because of the cows. So that's why we call it Cownomics. Anybody has any queries, you can ask. Presentation is over.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking time off to give this amazing presentation. I'm going to stop recording right now and open the forum for more questions.
Sure.